Hello, everybody. I'm Yuzo Kano, CEO of bitFlyer. Today, we're going to explain the bitFlyer for 20 minutes. I'm going to explain the first part, and then Andy will take over the rest. The bitFlyer is very unique. We have two businesses. Actually, it's here. If you look at the logo, you see 5 blocks and then 1 circle. So the 5 blocks actually describes blockchain, and the circle is virtual currency. So when I actually founded the company, I wanted to do both the blockchain and the virtual currencies. And then also actually need to mention about the ICOs, what's happening in Japan. As a chairman of the Japan Blockchain Association, I'm drafting safe regulations at this moment because the governments don't know how to handle the ICOs. And I want to actually regulate the current ICOs. Some of them looks actually illegal, and some of them are not. So I want to actually make a certain rule so that the people can do the ICO without any uncertainties. Otherwise, the government may actually ban any type of the ICOs in Japan, which is not ideal. Going back to the bitFlyer, this is our mission. Make the world simpler through blockchain. When I actually say the blockchain, it's including the virtual currencies because virtual currency is the one use case of the blockchain. As you know, the Bitcoin is running on the Bitcoin's blockchain. So I want to do the blockchain and the virtual currencies to make the world simpler, meaning that I want to actually make the money transmitter easier, cheaper, and faster, and then across the border. And then I want to use the blockchain for their government systems, simple, cheap, and then it's connected to each other. You don't have to bother to go to the office, government office, to submit your IDs, and then go to another office, and then waiting for 2 hours. That's not ideal. So I want to change to make the world simpler. I founded bitFlyer in 2014. That's right before the Mt. Gox incident happening in February, actually 2014, with a co-founder named Komiyama. We both used to work for Goldman Sachs. I used to be a trader in Goldman Sachs, and then Komiyama was an engineer. We have 2 major services. The virtual currencies exchange. Obviously, it's very simple. You can convert fiat currencies into the Bitcoin or other virtual currencies or crypto to crypto. We have proprietary blockchain named Miyabi. We developed our own blockchain. We started actually investigating from 2014 because the Bitcoin's blockchain considered actually very slow and has some problem. So we developed our proprietary blockchain and released as a Miyabi to some Japanese enterprises. And we got patent. There are actually 2 major types of blockchain. One is public blockchains like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin. So anybody can join as a node. On the other hand, there's a private blockchain like Hyperledger or Miyabi. Only the limited users can join to the blockchain. And only limited nodes are run by a certain number of people. This is called actually private blockchain. Those 2 blockchains are very different. We got a patent, global patent, for the private nodes, meaning we developed our original consensus algorithm, which is faster and more secured. Miyabi has a full functionality of blockchain. So all the nodes are distributed. So availability, obviously, like you can place a node not only inside one country, but you can place the different nodes across the universe. So you can actually keep the availability. If the one node goes down, the rest of the nodes cover the rest. Immutability is, as you know, you cannot revert the data in the blockchain because there's a chains of the data stored in each blocks. All the data depending on the previous block. Miyabi obviously has the immutability, so all the data is immutable, meaning that you cannot delete or update. Byzantine fault tolerance is a very famous function. It's called BFT. There are several nodes, and some of the nodes goes down, or they are called actually dishonesty node, meaning it's got hacked, it went down. Still, the ecosystem, whole system can return the right data without any failure. This is called like a BFT. And SPOF, no single point of failure. So if the one node control everything, and that node goes down, all the system goes down. This is not ideal. MIYAVI doesn't have any SPOF, meaning each nodes are equal. So if you're down, if the one node goes down, still you can come up with the right data. And the finality is very important. The financial institution doesn't like the Bitcoin's blockchain because it doesn't have the finality, meaning data is not fixed forever. Although you're waiting for the 1 hour or 1 year or 100 years, the probability of the data get reverted is just going down and down, but it never goes to zero. That's the reason why financial institution doesn't like the public blockchain, because there's a risk that the data is revoked. Or this is called orphan block. MIYAVI does have the finality, so all the data is fixed within 1 to 4 seconds and finalized forever. Obviously, it's the fastest. The Bitcoin's blockchain can process only 10 transactions per second. That's the reason why there's a jam in the blockchains, Bitcoin's blockchain recently. People want to pay more fee to transact their transaction faster than earlier than the other transactions. So the fee is going higher and higher and higher because the capacity of the block is just 1 megabyte. That's the reason why Bitcoin's blockchain is so slow. But MIYAVI can transact 2,000 to 4,000 transactions per second, which is good enough to handle the banking transaction in Japan. This is enormous. Japanese Bankers Association is like a SEPA in Europe, meaning they're actually doing the banking infrastructure in Japan. We got nominated as a technical partner with the JBA, as well as Hitachi, NTT Data, and Fujitsu. They're gigantic companies running the business globally. And we are the only startups got nominated amongst more than 20 candidates. So now I'm switching to Andy.
Thanks, Yuzo.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Andy Bryant. I'm the COO of bitFlyer in Europe. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our virtual currency exchange. And I've got 3 important announcements as well. But first, some statistics. So last year, bitFlyer facilitated $250 billion of virtual currency trades. That's $250 billion. I mean, that's a lot. And these days, we're clocking over 50 billion a month from over 1 million verified users. Now, it's numbers like this which explains why we're ranked #1 in the world for Bitcoin trade volume. That is, if you include leveraged trades such as futures. But we also do altcoins. For instance, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, and one that you may or may not recognize, that's Monacoin. That's a very popular alt in Japan. Now, we believe regulation is fundamental for the future of virtual currencies, and we put it at the heart of our strategy. In Japan, we were on the very first list of companies to be issued with a virtual currency exchange license, which is a very bespoke type of license, which actually Yuzo was instrumental in drafting. Meanwhile, our team in the US, based out of San Francisco, has been working really hard, and for the last couple of years, working with state regulators, they've secured the licensure to operate in 42 states. Now that covers over 90% of the US population. And I should add, it includes the New York bit license. Now, I'm sure most of you know about the New York bit license, but for those of you that don't, it's been around since 2015, and only 4 companies in the world have it. In fact, we were the first company that isn't headquartered in the US to get New York bit license. So we're pretty proud of that. That brings me to my first important announcement. We're very happy to say here today at London Blockchain Week that as of a few days ago, we're now also licensed in the EU. So we've just had our license signed off by the Minister of Finance in Luxembourg after receiving a green light from the CSSF, which is kind of like the FCA of Luxembourg. And that makes us the first virtual currency exchange in the world that's been licensed in both, well, all of Japan, the US, and the EU. And now for the second announcement, but first a little bit of background. If you had a keen eye, you would have seen on an earlier slide that Bitcoin was actually started off in a bakery, a bread shop in Tokyo. And actually, even from those humble beginnings, Yuzo had already decided that he wanted to open an office in the US and in Europe. So the story of Bitcoin in Europe goes right back to 2014. In 2015, we got board of directors approval to form bitFlyer Europe, and it happened in January 2017. We set up an office at the same time. A few months later, we hired our first employee and recently got our license, as I just mentioned, which brings me to the second announcement. Today, we've just gone live. And that means that anyone in the EU, or it's possible for anyone in the EU to come to our website, create an account, and start trading. Thank you. The product we're launching with is called bitFlyer Lightning. It's a professional trading platform that has features that others don't. We believe it's the most advanced professional trading platform for virtual currencies. For instance, we have very complex conditional order types that are possible, daily P&L, delta, as well as the features that you may expect, like the standard features, market orders, limit orders, and so forth. Now, we think that's going to resonate particularly strongly with institutions. Yuzo, as he mentioned, he used to be a trader for Goldman Sachs. So, it's in his DNA to know exactly what traders need. That DNA permeates the whole company. And we end up building products for traders, by traders. That's the essence. You can interact with our platform through this Swish UI that you see here, but also programmatically through an API. This is our third announcement. As of today, until the end of February, we're going live with 0% trading fees. So if you wanted to come and try out our platform, it literally has no cost. And finally, just a word about the future. The interesting thing about bitFlyer is in Japan, we're the dominant marketplace for virtual currencies. We have over 70% market share. And Japan, in turn, is the largest Bitcoin market in the world, which means we have the #1 market share in the world. And that's interesting if you're an institutional trader, because this kind of market depth and liquidity pool is very appealing. And we're planning to offer that to our users, be it in Japan or EU or the US. We call it cross-border trading, and it's going to go live in the coming months. That's it. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Join us for drinks to celebrate our new license and our launch in the EU. It's right here today, 5:30 p.m., open bar. I've even heard there are going to be games. So we hope to see you there to celebrate, and I look forward to speaking to some of you. Thank you.